Hi guys, welcome to my channel again. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Alchemist. It's a fiction book. I enjoyed it. It was so philosophical, it was insightful. It felt like reading the Bible. At the same time, it was deep. Aside the story of the shepherd boy, there is a lot more depth to reading the story. I can't even wait to start talking about it, so let's get into it. But before that, let me give you a quick intro about Chisimdi, which is me.
I am a passionate writer and lifelong learner. I firmly believe that you can achieve anything you set your mind to, and I encourage you to embrace that potential within yourself. In this space, I share valuable educational content, insightful tips, patterns, and strategies focused on growth, communication, and living, and most importantly, book reviews, because I read a lot. The desire to learn is a powerful and transformative force and a good indicator of personal growth. So I invite you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I hope you enjoy it here.
Now, The Alchemist started with the story of a young boy, Santiago. He was a shepherd boy and he had a lot of sheep. I'm going to summarize the story, touching every bit of the encounters Santiago went through, and then I'm going to share the philosophies which I agree so much with and which felt deeper than just the story of Santiago. Now, he had a lot of sheep, he tended them, he understood the languages of sheep. So to him, all sheep wanted was just food and water, and then they get sleep, and just make sure that they are not exposed to predators. He had a lot of them, and he was making good money tending to sheep, but not so much, and he wanted to travel. He has seen how people come in and out from where he stayed, and he wanted to be like those people. He wanted to be a traveler, explore different places. He didn't just want to be confined to where he grew up with his parents. His parents actually wanted him to be a priest, but then he told his father that he didn't want to be a priest. He couldn't even imagine the life in the seminary, so it was not his calling. Now, this is something that when you know what you want to do, don't allow your parents be the ones to force you into the life you don't want. So, and this is also the same for parents. I think if you want the best for your child, tell them the pros and cons, not forcing the life you want for them on them. Now, after that, here's how the journey began. So he remembered the last time he traveled to sell his sheep. He met a girl, wanted to really meet her, he wanted to marry her. Every day seemed closer to getting to her because, as a shepherd boy traveling to go and sell his sheep, he had to take breaks in between the journey. He had to travel by foot. So every day he got excited that he was going to get to the merchant and sell his sheep. Backstory: while he was always tending his sheep, so he had this dream. He was a little boy that kept on showing up, playing with his sheep, and then suddenly the boy held his hand and transported him to the Egyptian pyramid. It kept on reoccurring, and when he got to the town where he was supposed to sell his sheep, he met a gypsy. That's where things get interesting. Now, he went to this gypsy to be able to read it. Most of the time, as human beings, we see things and we're like, I need somebody to translate this because we don't understand it. So I think that was just what he was trying to do. He wanted to understand what that means, and there are already people known to be able to read those things. So then when he got to the gypsy and told her everything, she wasn't having it with him. She just wanted him to wrap up because she felt he was not going to pay her. After hearing the dream, she told him that he should go and pursue his dreams, and when he gets his treasure, he's going to come back and give her 1/10 of his treasure. He felt devastated because, woman, this is not what I came here for. I can't promise you what I've not even seen. He left. He was not satisfied with what he got. After that, when he was sitting down thinking about how much of a waste of time, now contemplating and thinking about other things, the merchant's daughter crossing his mind and all of that, then an old man was sitting close to him and started engaging him in a conversation. Now, this old man from the book was known to be the king of Salem. At the end of the day, they had a very deep conversation, and he introduced two stones to him. He told him a lot of things. I feel like there are certain encounters in your life that is the king of Salem. There are people you sit with, you won't meet them again, but they are just going to give you some words that can never depart from your insides, from your heart. You keep hearing that word every time or that sentence or that line. He keep hearing it. So when this man came to him, he told him a couple of things that he never forgot throughout the book. He gave him 2 stones and introduced him to omens. After that, the king of Salem told him he wanted to buy his sheep. Then he was going to buy all the sheep so that he could pursue his dreams. He could live his dreams. And he was really happy to do that because he wanted to go to the pyramids and he wanted to see the treasure and he wanted to come back home as a good man, a big man, and, a better person that lived well. So he headed on his journey, right? So when he had gotten his money, he just sold the sheep and then he went to ask for the price of a ticket to get to Egypt. And he told the ticket seller that they're going to come back tomorrow. And the man murmured, they just have dreams of going there, but they can never afford it. That's one line that stuck to me. It's not that he couldn't afford it, right? He could afford it. That's why most of these sellers are always quick to judge. People who come to your store, it doesn't mean they are not going to buy it. Them asking is like, okay, let me make proper decisions. Yes, that's one of the things the king of Salem told him, to know how to make his own decisions by himself, which is a good thing. Now, after that, he got really excited. He was happy that he had made so much money. And then he went to a coffee shop. He just went to get a drink and, just chill out and feel good. He has done well for himself. Being a shepherd boy that rebelled from the life his parents wanted for him and then moved into something else. He just wanted to chill out and really enjoy what he just made and look forward to see the dream and live that dream. So when he got there, he was, too excited and then he thought he had seen a friend. Because people there were Arabs. The country he came to sell his sheep. They were all Arabs. And he didn't really understand their language. So the person he sat with understood him and was helping him, be the translator. So he thought he had seen a friend. And then he shared the secret with him. He shared the money he just made. Oh, I made a bunch of cash now. I just sold all my sheep and he was like, oh, you really have this money here? I was like, yes. Now, the owner of the shop was by the side, eavesdropping into their conversation and wanting to know what he was really talking about. And he was not really looking happy. So his friend in the story stood up and went to the man and told him that, he spoke his language. This language barrier thing is just so crazy. And then he was speaking Arab to him and the seller grabbed him and told him, this friend was telling Santiago that the seller wants to rob him, that the seller is not a good person. And then his friend deliberately lured him to a place where there are a lot of shiny things. So he got carried away looking at a sword. And then he gave the money to his friend since the seller was after his money. He saw a sword. He liked it and he wanted to get it. So he said, when he comes back from Egypt, he's going to get the sword, right? Before he could look left and right, his friend had disappeared. Everything happened so quickly and he had lost all his money. He lost his sheep, he had lost his money. Now, on to the next stage, he wept. And then, when he checked his pockets, all he found was the 2 stones that was given to him by the king of Salem, one was for a good omen and the other was for a bad omen. Then he picked it up and then he saw a candy store and then he asked the man who would help him that he just wants to eat. And that was how he got through that day. After that, it was a new life for him. He needed something else. He had already sold the sheep. His sheep was basically his family. It was what gave him meaning and purpose. Because amongst all these things that happened, he didn't let it become a setback to him. So, when you find yourself in a new country, somehow you just have to do something. Even if he wanted to go home, he could walk his way and work for somebody for a little while and then go home. Or he could work and move ahead to still chasing his dream. Since he was in between, going back to his house or going forward to his dream in Egypt. Now, while he was there thinking, he saw a glass store and it was dirty. So he walked up to the seller and told him, with your store looking this way, I don't think anybody's going to come in here, that I'm going to clean all these glasswares and you're going to pay me. The seller looked at him and knew that he was hungry and didn't say anything to him. So he just allowed the boy start cleaning. The boy cleaned everything. And when it was time for him to get paid, the merchant told him, my religion asks that I feed a hungry person. Then the boy was like, why didn't you tell me but he allowed me to do all the work and paid me. After that, the man employed him, and life in this merchant's store changed. A lot of visitors started coming into the store, started getting more customers. This boy did things that moved the shop of that man. But when the merchant asked him what he really wanted, he told him that he wants to save enough money to buy the sheep. He understood them and he liked them, so yes, he wanted to just get enough money to be able to buy the sheep. And then he asked the merchant about his dream. He told him that his dream was to go to Mecca, and that's what keeps him going every day. And he fears that if he achieves that dream, he wouldn't know his purpose for living. He's just fine basking in that imagination of one day I'm going to go to Mecca and not taking any action towards it. Some people live their dreams and some people just dream. These are two different things that shocked me. It was like this little boy actually wanted to live his dream. But then this man was just dreaming. He didn't want to see it come to life. He just wanted to keep dreaming. This merchant saw people that are poorer than him go to Mecca and come back and still struggled. But to him, he didn't want to do it because what would his purpose for living be after going to Mecca? I really felt bad for that merchant, but let's get back to it. Then after this, the boy pitched another idea to him. I think if that boy was in this world, he would be a very, very good marketer because from the story, he was really good. Then he told the merchant that with the way it is that he wants to build a crystal glassware where they can display everything they have in the store, like the glasses they have in the store. And the man was skeptical about it. He didn't want to automatically accept, but they had a good conversation and he agreed. And then when this boy stepped into his shop, he took his shop from, let's say, 0 to 40. Now that idea of building a crystal glassware for display took his shop from 40 to 70. Now, this is where the whole story changed. This boy now told the merchant again that let us sell tea in this store. Because people coming in from the country and people living in the country, this is like a center where they all meet. So people will be tired, and if you could offer great tea here, it would be a good spot. But somehow, the boy convinced him and he really gave it thought, and that was how this store went from 0 to 100. Because a single person came in and changed everything. The man said he was a good omen to him. At the end of the day, there are people that come into your life and change your life for good. It is just up to you. Know those people and appreciate them. Now, one of the things that kept the boy in that store was that the merchant appreciated him. He gave him his due pay. He paid him wholly. He paid him fully and handsomely. He wasn't withdrawing a part of what the boy deserved. He paid him fully. That was why everything works fine for them then. Well, backstory, the merchant, I'm not sure he ever got to live his dream, but that was it. After this, the boy had already made enough money. 11 months and 9 days later, he was ready to chase his dreams. You might get pulled down, but never you stop. Keep going. He got into a caravan. That was how he would be traveling to Egypt to see his treasure. He met an Englishman. Englishman was also going to the same Egypt because he wanted to meet the alchemist. This alchemist is over 200 years and he doesn't age and he knew how to make gold. So this was what the Englishman wanted to. He wanted to meet him and see the philosopher's stone, the elixir of life. He wanted to learn from the alchemist and really see him and know that he's real. Apparently, he's also going to live his dream. Now, the caravan driver already told them that the desert can be quite tricky. He told them the way of the desert is that you have to listen to the desert and understand. It was a very good description. It was quite a ride with the caravan. It took them time because the desert was not really responding. There was war going on, so it was not really easy for them. But at the end of the day, they saw the oasis. They had to stop and stay there for a while because continuing their journey means they might meet the enemies or they might get into the war and, they get killed. The Englishman wanted to meet the alchemist. He was really excited. So, he spoke to the boy about it. He already told him why he was there. So then they approached one woman at the well and asked her if she knew the alchemist. And she just ran away and told them that when they see a woman wearing black, they should not approach her. It means she's married. They didn't give up. They were going to ask other people. They met another man the next day, and the man was like, why are you looking for a witch doctor here? We don't have witch doctors here. Please leave. Then the second man came, and the man was like, you don't belong to the Oasis. Don't try to fit into the life of the Oasis. Another lady walks up, and her name was Fatima, and it was as if his world stopped. He was so in love. He got captivated. He was in love with the girl. He asked about the alchemist, and she told him where to find him. So the alchemist was a very important person. So you don't just reveal information about this person like that. The Englishman was obviously happy when Santiago went back to tell him the news. The reality of the war was that it was too intense and they had to stay. While the Englishman continued in his quest of understanding the philosopher's stone, trying to meet the alchemist and understanding how to make this gold, the boy was really just trying to make meaning out of anything, even birds that were flying, because the feeling he felt when he met that girl drew him back. Next up, he had a vision of people coming to attack them there at the Oasis. People would want to stop him and tell him that he's not a man of the desert, that he cannot read the desert. So he was having this reflexive, meditative moment. That was the time when he saw the vision and related to the chiefs of the Oasis. They told him, if at all they get attacked, for every 10 men that they take down, he's going to get a pile of gold. At the end of the day, his vision was actually real. So they rewarded him and made him the counselor of the Oasis because, he earned it. He saw what he saw and he let people know, and then he earned the spot of being the counselor of the Oasis. Somebody give a shout out to Santiago! Just remembered. Before he was made the counselor of the Oasis, he was lost in thoughts based on the conversation and the agreements that he had with the chieftains. And a horseman approached him, drew out his sword, placed it on his head. He just wanted to test his courage. He wanted to know if he really believed in what he saw. And he was really strong and convicted that, yes, this is what I saw and everybody needs to know this. And then he introduced himself as the alchemist. Now, he was scheduled to meet the alchemist the next day. The alchemist took him to his tent, told him a lot of things, which I'm going to share very soon because we're getting to the end of the story. They went out the next day. He got tested. He saw a lot of things. At this point, they entered the desert. It was not a safe place. Mind you, the desert was not a safe place. On the days where they were moving, the alchemist advised him to sell his camel and buy a horse because camels work very slowly and one day they just die. But horses, you could see them getting tired and you just know when the horse is going to die. But camels, you can't predict. You might think this camel is good and it might just stop and die on the way. So he told him to buy a horse. He wanted to teach him some things about the desert. So when they got there, they kept on going further and they were approached by 3 tribesmen. They were armed and they told them that they can't go any further because it's not safe. There's serious war going on. They got approached by 3 armed tribesmen and they got past that. They got approached by 2 horsemen. All he did was, look them in the eye, respond with confidence. It was a good story because it says a lot about how people want to intimidate you. But then if you can stand up to them, you don't have to be rude or anything. But when somebody is looking you in the eye, look them back. Look at them too and tell them, At a point, they looked back. They saw more soldiers, and, they were just taken. They were taken to a military camp. War was going on. So, and then their life was at stake. And then the alchemist told them, oh, I'm an alchemist and this boy is also an alchemist and he wants to turn himself to the wind. And they laughed. And then he told them, you know what? If this boy turns himself to the wind, you're going to leave us, you're going to free us. And he was like, who are you to tell me that? You already trespassed. Like your life is now in my hand. But they left them. He said, how many days will you need for this boy to turn himself to the wind? The boy said, he needs 3 days. Many of these things is beginning to make a lot of sense to me, by the way. It's like, he needs 3 days. I don't know what this writer was thinking, but he's just trying to relate a lot of things to Christianity itself. You need 3 days to turn yourself to the wind. And Jesus died and resurrected after 3 days. There's a lot of biblical things in it. I mean, I could read this book in 3 years and find more depth to it, right? So, but let me just keep going. The boy had already made a lot of money because he was the counselor of the Oasis. He was given a lot of gold, like so much money that if he went back to Africa where he came from, he would be so rich. And then the alchemist presented his money and told him, oh, this is the money, you can have our money, but once this boy turns himself to the wind, you have to free us and everything. 3 days later, the boy started conversing with the wind. He spoke to the sand that he needed the help of the sand. That's the desert sand. He spoke to the wind. The wind was so proud because, it's the wind. And the wind spoke to the sun. And then the wind was pretty surprised to see that the sun can't do everything too. Because the wind felt like he was self-sufficient. He could do everything. But he could not turn the boy to the wind. And then he went to the sun. The sun also couldn't do it. He was able to convert himself to the wind. They got freed. And then they left. And when they got to a monastery, the alchemist stopped and invited them over, told them to come in for a tea. He had a friend. And he made gold, like actual gold. He gave him one. He gave the dude that's in the monastery, gave the guy one. And then he took one. And they left, they departed because he was just few miles away from his treasure. So he went there, he was so happy, he saw the pyramids and then started digging. The alchemist had taught him how to listen to his heart, so he was really listening to his heart. There's a lot of things I'm going to share in my next video because this is just the story. But there's a lot of insights you get from this. So he kept on digging. And he wasn't getting any treasure. It was frustrating because where is his treasure? He can't find it. Some dudes came and saw him. They beat him up. They stole his gold. This is like the third time this dude is getting robbed. Like, he lost his money to a random person. And the alchemist also sold his money for their lives. And now he's getting beaten up just at the peak of where his treasure is. And the gold the alchemist gave him to compensate that got stolen again. You can just imagine how terrible it is. I felt so sorry for this character. I felt really sorry for him. I almost believed it was real, but they told him, oh, he should go under the sycamore in the sacristy, that he's going to find treasures there, sarcastically, and he laughed. And he went there and he found treasure. And now it was time for him to go back to Fatima. Fatima blew a kiss and the wind sent it over to him. But it was a good story. It was a really good story. See you guys next week where I share my insights on the philosophical part of this book. My newsletter, Lily's Chronicles, is on my bio if you care for bi-weekly write-ups which I send to my subscribers. If it's going to be, talk to you.